About me, I am from Turkey, but I was raised in India, which is a very multi-faith country, and I have been living in Canada for the last 3 years. I am a part of the Intercultural Dialogue Institute and Youth for Unity group, and I will also be moderating the event for today. The event is co-hosted by the Office of Interreligious Dialogue, Archdiocese of Toronto, and Catholic, Muslim, Jewish Young Adults Dialogue Group, supported by Intercultural Dialogue Institute. Now, I would like to tell a little bit about both of these organizations. First of all, the Archdiocese of Toronto is a Roman Catholic archdiocese that includes part of province of Ontario. The diocese is run under the inspiring leader of Cardinal Thomas Christopher Collins. The diocese looks after the religious, spiritual, and social needs of Catholic faithful. The diocese also has a great desire to build relationship with other community members, particularly the believers of other religion in the diocese. Therefore, in order to build bridges among the other religions, leaders, and communities, the Office for Interreligious Dialogue was created by Cardinal Thomas Collins, and it is currently run under the leadership of Father Prakash Lohal, OP. And please visit the website for the Archdiocese and the Office for Interreligious Dialogue for further details. Now, the IDI. The Intercultural Dialogue Institute, GTA, is a non-profit organization that aims to promote enduring interfaith and intercultural cooperation, tolerance, and dialogue by sharing our differences and similarities in an effort to enhance civil society, to promote the development of human values, and to advance diversity and multiculturalism in the society. In this regard, IDI organizes social, educational, and cultural activities. Now, I would like to introduce our beloved speakers for today. Dania Ahmed is a second-year undergraduate student at the University of Toronto, double majoring in ethics, society and law, and sociology with a minor in women and gender studies. Her studies of interests include faith-based environmentalism, as she has completed a research project at the university about it and has a passion for social justice issues and interfaith dialogue. Also a member of the Awakening Project, Dania wants to highlight the importance of interfaith harmony and understanding as it relates to our theme of social friendship and fraternity tonight. Would you like to say hello, Dania?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Busra. I'm so happy to be here and looking forward to speaking and conversing with all of you.
Thank you. And Winston Pam is a second-year undergraduate student at the University of Toronto St. George campus, pursuing a double majors in ethics, law, and society, and philosophy alongside with a minor in Christianity culture. Since 2020, Vincent has also been a part of the Awakening Project, a platform where youth and young adults freely foster interfaith dialogue, as well as discuss social justice issues of our time. And would you like to say hi, Vincent?
Yes, thank you to all. It's so great for me to be here, and I hope to learn more and also to share my own thoughts as well. So thank you to all.
Thank you very much. And it is a pleasure for all of us to join everyone tonight in this interfaith initiative on Fratelli Tutti. Now, I would like to tell a little bit about Fratelli Tutti before we start the discussion. Fratelli Tutti is an expression of Saint Francis of Assisi. The saint used it to propose a form of life with the flavor of gospel. The Saint Francis invited all men and women to love that goes beyond geography and space. It is based on issues related to fraternity and social friendship that have been the subject of concern for the pontiff in recent years. Issues set out in document on human brotherhood for world peace and common coexistence signed with the great Imam Ahmad al-Tayyib in February 2019. It is a social encyclical dedicated to fraternity and social friendship. It dwells on the universal dimension on the doctrine on fraternal love, reflects to react with a new dream of fraternity and social friendship, to dream as one humanity as wayfarers made of same human flesh. And it is also addressed to all people who makes this reflection and openness to dialogue. I think we can start our discussion right now. Vincent and Tanya, I'm leaving the platform to you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Busra. So I guess I'll start and then Vincent will speak after me. But thank you for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Danya Ahmed, and I'm really excited to discuss social friendship and fraternity with you all today. I actually spoke about the encyclical of Fratelli Tutti on a separate panel in late January, also hosted by the Archdiocese of Toronto. So I'm just going to echo some of the initial points I made back then as well. But for my designated time, I'm going to hone in on speaking about the one concept that I really appreciated about Fratelli Tutti, which is Pope Francis's constant underlying theme of calling for an alternate way of thinking and framing the current social, political, and economic issues of present day society. So I thought of it this way: the Pope addressed many things, from global relations to local communities to economic ideologies, the vulnerability of the poor, and much, much more. But the one thing that we always found in every chapter of Fratelli Tutti was this subtle theme and call to action to rethink and meaningfully contemplate a lot of the problematic beliefs that we've kind of institutionalized and that have been internalized in society. So, for example, in my studies, I always come across the environment a lot and our very, very alarming climate change crisis that we're facing. And I took this one course last semester, which was called Multidisciplinary Perspectives on the Environment. And in it, one of the first things my professor said was that we're only going to get out of these problems when we change our ways of thinking. And in that course, we examined the perspectives of climate scientists, of economists, of philosophers, and politicians, all to get a different point of view. And, combining the strengths of each distinct group to produce a new and more effective way of tackling the problem from all different angles. And so this relates to our theme of social friendship and fraternity because, this task to reframe the way that we approach an issue of deteriorating community actually reminds me of a quote also from Albert Einstein, where he famously says, quote, we cannot solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. And so that's kind of where interfaith dialogue would come in, because there are so many different faiths, but essentially the bottom line would be we all advocate for harmony and peace and community, and social friendship and fraternity is instrumental in promoting this. So I think it is very crucial that this interfaith dialogue take place, as all of our religions in one way or another they find this notion of community building to be central in our roles as people of faith. And so to get out of this hyper-connected, extremely digitalized, and non-meaningful modes of communication, we have to start thinking about different ways together to achieve better standards of social friendship and fraternity. And I think the Pope really exquisitely brought our attention towards this in Fratelli Tutti, that yes, we can have this massive globalization and rapid digitalization, but if we don't have this solid foundation of communal love and solidarity, the question is, do we really have a society? And so when we start to divert our attention and our efforts away from creating these meaningful and intimate bonds with our neighbors and are solely concerned with our own self advancement, we are also kind of aiding in the decimation of community and the institution of community. So the move away from people and the push towards the worldly pursuit of goods, as we're already seeing, is causing a fair bit of destruction and pushing our most vulnerable populations to the margins of society. So ultimately, this leaves us with that the time for critical self-reflection and for action is now, and we need to become more literate when it comes to caring for and supporting for the most vulnerable members of our societies. We've kind of normalized the blind eye response, and it's high time that this changes. You know, the notion that if this doesn't directly affect me, it does not concern me. And this is kind of where we start losing community. And so, all of this into consideration, humans are even fundamentally, we are social beings. So, we need these avenues for social friendship. And our faith tells us that we need this. And so, I guess it all kind of starts with this one basic step of self realization, self reflection, looking inwards and saying that this behavior needs to change, and my faith calls me to change it and to do better. But yeah, all in all, I will leave it at this for now. But thank you for listening, and I also look forward to hearing all of your thoughts.
Yes, thank you. Those points that you have brought up were simply just great, and I hope to build on some of those points. But I think for me, where I'm going to start off at is that I do really want to bring back first of that picture of our Pope in March of last year. In fact, I think close to 1 year, when he was in just that empty St. Peter's Square, right? And there was these dark clouds and that rainfall, and he did reflect on this whole scene in which in which Christ calms that storm, that dark storm. And he had this one line, and I think I'm going to draw on this line to build on my thoughts, is that he said, quote, "We cannot go on thinking of ourselves," end of quote. That fact that when COVID-19 hit, just that fact that we were all on the same boat, rich or poor, we all had that risk of being hit by this storm, and that caused in us a very great sense of fear. And I know for me, just the start of March, going to school, and I see all of these masks on, and then I'm like, oh, like just that whole scene of being in fear each day, right? And still now, a year past that date, we still live with the true fact that there's this COVID that's still on right now. We're still on the same boat. The whole world is on the same boat. Yet I think for me, Fratelli Tutti speaks to this line that the Pope spoke back in March. We cannot go on thinking of ourselves. Well, why? Well, if we read in section, I think section 6 or so, Pope Francis said that that Fratelli Tutti was in the works well before COVID-19 hit. But it seems like Fratelli Tutti is the very key, and it came at the perfect time of our lives, of the times that we live in. The first point that spoke to me in Fratelli Tutti was that of hope, right? Fratelli Tutti speaks of hope. Hope, Pope Francis said, speaks to us of something deeply rooted in every human heart. And he also says too in section 54, hope is bold. And from that point, he goes on to speak of, we live in a world where, we live in this false sense of this whole secure world. Oh, we all want to chase after the next phone or the next MacBook, and there are times when we chase after fashion perhaps. But when COVID-19 hits, those hopes that we had to get the next phone, I hope was not there, because I think we came to that realization there was something more important to hope for, and that is an end to these COVID times. So hope for Pope Francis is not just some sort of dream, right? Like we dream the vision sort of stuff, and these times have proved so. Hope for Pope Francis is a very real thing that is instilled in each of our hearts. It seems that Pope Francis gives us here a handbook that addresses COVID-19, not from a scientific standpoint, but from a social standpoint. And thus we speak of the theme of social friendship here. The essential thing that I can pull out from here is that the concept that we are all, despite, the faiths that we all have, um, they're not the same. But yet, one thing that is the same is that we are all brothers and sisters. Yet the question is, how are we supposed to act if we were to truly be brothers and sisters? I'm going to touch on a few points, and I think if you want to get the whole thing, you should read the whole piece. It's such a great work, I'd say. One point that I've pulled out is this, and I quote here from our Pope. Jesus asks us to be present to those in need of help, regardless of whether or not they belong to our social group. End of quote. Being there for those in need, I think, is a very important thing, especially during these times. I can recall some years back, I think about 2014 or 2015 or so, at the end of that year, our youth group had a day when we went to the good what is it here? I didn't know, the Good Shepherd Food Bank, and it was there that we had the chance to work. My dad was back just trying to cut some meats. I was just trying to sort through cans. Right, it is such a very humbling work, and for me, it was that thought, right? Just being there in some way to help those who might not have a meal that day. Now, during these COVID-19 times, sometimes it's just simply a text to someone whom you've not had the chance to speak to for quite some time, right? Or sometimes just a Zoom call and just trying to check in. And I know for some, I, of course, now, I do have some friends back and they're now in grade 12, right? And I know how hard it is for them to go through school during these times. And sometimes just a Zoom call or just a text and like just to check up on them and see if they need help. That it is in those things, the acts of us being brothers and sisters, that I think gives us hope. And that is what Pope Francis speaks to, I think, a big deal. We do go on, and then we see a Pope speak of the need to move beyond ourselves, to get out of our comfort zones, to be with those most in need. This, I think, is a very important point, because how often do we just stick with the same group of friends, or like now that I do look back in my high school years, sometimes when we have some class group, I most often just stuck with the same group out of the sake for just like a mark or just to do well, because I know he or she, they work hard and I work hard, and I don't want my mark to go down because of someone who does not work, right? Yet I don't think that is what Pope Francis really wants us to do. We need to get out of our comfort zones, because a mark in class does not, once school is done, grade 12 is done, it's gone. But it's the love that we show, the care and concern, and the hope that we instill. That is, I think, what will last, perhaps for a much longer time, or perhaps for years to come, and for perhaps for someone's whole lifetime, because love is what sustains our world. I think the last point that I will touch upon is the concept. It was just trying to go back to the concept of us being on the same boat. My dad, he escaped from Vietnam, right? So did a whole lot of those who escaped Vietnam by boat, and they did leave Vietnam on these really small boats, and all the groups, they had to squish onto that boat. And they had to live on what they had for sometimes 1 week or 2 weeks. And so I can, based on what I've heard from that time, just being on the seas and not know when are we going to see land, right? Yet these people on these boats, on these small boats, they had themselves, they, they were instilled with a sense of hope because they knew who they were. They were brothers and sisters, despite the they perhaps not all shared the same faith, but it was the hope that they had within them that sustained them on that whole long boat ride. Um, and thus, we too are on this small boat during these COVID-19 times. And this is how our world could be, a world where each of us instill hope, a hope that COVID-19 will end, the hope that we will all one day, by our concrete acts, selflessly live truly as brothers and sisters, live truly as Fratelli Tutti. And those are my thoughts. Thank you to all.
Thank you very much, Vincent and Dania. Now it's our question and answer time. Those who have comments and questions can send it through the chat. And our speakers will be answering them for you. I can hear typing, that's a good thing. In the meanwhile, I can ask my own question. Vincent, you had talked about being one, united, especially during times like this, during the COVID, but we also have to face the reality that we have to be socially distant. So I want to ask you, how can we form social friendship and fraternity during the COVID-19 days?
Yes, thank you. Well, just I think one thing that we can speak to is just this Zoom call right now, right? I'm just so blessed to have come here and to just see, you know, those of different backgrounds, of different faiths who are here, just trying to sit down and discuss. That is, I think, a great step. Just trying to converse is the first step. Because most oftentimes, and sometimes I do look at tweets and Facebook, like how, and I see, you know, just see, oh, there's some trying to fight about X, Y, and Z. But the thing is that when do we have the chance to actually sit down like this and speak and just, you know, try to converse and see and just find where are we on the same page? On which page are we on, like and thus just trying to speak here on Zoom or within schools. There are faith groups as well, or as I know down at U of T where I'm at, we have the multi-faith group down there, and they have workshops and such. And these things like Zoom has been great because to tell you the truth, sometimes I found that we will meet face to face on this day at this time, and I'm like, well, I don't want to have to come home late. That's for one thing. Or I just find some sort of like excuse not to go. And now that things are on Zoom, I don't have to move and such. And there's a much larger reach too, right? And thus I say the first step is to talk, to speak, and that is on Zoom. And then from there, we can have a concrete plan on how to act, right? And those are my thoughts. I don't know if there are more thoughts inside the chat, or if someone would like to add on. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Vincent. We have another question. It says, "Hi, this is Wafa from Good Neighbor Project. Each faith group does wonderful work. Should we be looking for ways to collaborate a bit more?"
Yeah, I love this question. Yeah, I do a lot of like different work with interfaith groups. Currently, I'm with the Awakening Project, and we're also looking for different ways to connect with other groups. We just had a meeting this morning with connecting with the Interfaith Youth Alliance movement from the Toronto District Catholic School Board. So definitely, we can get in touch about collaborating a bit more. That's definitely something that is in the works and has been in the works for a couple of years now, ever since I was in my senior year of high school. And I think we end up producing really, really beautiful and quite touching and meaningful events when a lot of different groups are able to come together and make an event in collaboration with each other. So yeah, we always looking for collaboration with other faith groups is always a good idea, always welcome. And it's always an open avenue that I think we should take.
Thank you very much, Tanya. Our next question is, just a second, I'm sorry, I lost it. It's from James, and it says, "To any speaker, with a self-critical reflection perspective, which character from the Good Samaritan can you best identify with?"
Thanks, James. Now that like I think I do have to put some thought here, right? For me to tell you the truth, sometimes I can't. I don't see myself as like the good guy at times, and sometimes I'm like the guy who just sees someone just there and they need help, and I just pass by, right? Worse, sometimes I say, oh well, I pray, or like I of course do go to church and all that, and that's I don't think I and I do spend time with the youth groups here and there, and I don't think I need to help those who perhaps need help, down, we pass me in church, that poor box, for us to put some change in, and sometimes I just pass by and go and I buy some chips for me, right? So to tell you the truth, at times we do fall into those shoes and not being the good guy at times. And we are in the last weeks of what's called Christian Lent, well, at least for me. And this is what we should ask ourselves. Have I, at times been that bad guy and I just pass by? Well, perhaps I should not use the term bad guy, because perhaps they had stuff, they had to go off and pray and such. So we can't really, like I'd say, blame them like 100%. But how often do we take that time to help those who are in need? And thus, during these last weeks of Christian Lent, these are questions I do ask, me, and see, where am I? Do I strive to be the guy who takes time to help those in need, or perhaps right now, those who need help on like their to need help, just to check their work before they send their work in for like class? Do I say, oh no, I have a whole lot of stuff to do, or do I say, yeah, just send that to me, and then I'll just spend the time to check it? And thus, yeah, it is a mix, but at times I do fall into that trap of just being the guy that just passes by.
Vincent, you said that it's Christian lands, but do you think it's more like a Christian community, because the land originally belongs to indigenous people? So would you still call it Christian lands, or would you say Christian community, prominently Christian community?
Oh, so what I refer to Lent, so Lent is the time before the Easter feast, which is at the end of
I misheard.
Next week. And so Lent began I'd say last month, and we spent about 6 weeks, and thus the past 6 weeks have for the past 5. Next week will be the 6th week. We've been trying to find, just trying to look at ourselves and how can we be more like Christ, right? Because from the Christian standpoint, Christ died for our sins. And thus, how can we give a bit of ourselves to take part in that, right? And that's what the past 5 and next 6 weeks has been. There's a whole lot to Lent, but of course you can read up on that if you'd like to know more. Yeah.
Thank you, Vincent, for clarifying that. Now I will be moving to the next question. Is Pope Francis' message reaching out to people of all faith, persuasions, each in their own way, or rather in a common form of thinking? Being a Roman Catholic, the word comes to us in a context we're accustomed to from our youth to adulthood. And it's a question from Eugene. Thank you, Eugene.
Yeah, so I also did want to touch on James's question a bit as well, just very briefly. I also totally agree with Vincent. When we're talking about, who do we identify with in the parable of the Good Samaritan? I would definitely say at one point or another, possibly all of us also have been everyone in the parable, because there are always times, we're humans, we're flawed, we can make that mistake of omission. And so I definitely think that these spaces, creating spaces for us to self-reflect on how we deal with these kind of situations is important. But yeah, going on to Eugene's question, I do think the Pope Francis's message does reach out to people of all faiths, because initially in the letter, right in the beginning, it also says that this letter the encyclical is intended for anyone with goodwill and an open mind to engage in this dialogue. So I thought it was very wonderfully written, and there are so many very, very important messages in there that are not just specific to one faith, but they can apply, and they have roots in every faith. It's just sometimes belief systems differ, but essentially what the Pope is saying can resonate on a global scale for everyone. So I think it really can. I'm a Muslim, so it really spoke to me as well. So it can definitely reach other faith. And has implications for other faith followers as well. Definitely.
I totally agree with you, Danya. And the next question. The Pope was encouraged to write this document by the Imam of Al-Azhar, and this has inspired the United Nations to declare International Humanity Day. What can we do concentrately together to celebrate this day? It's a wonderful question. Thank you.
Well, first, Zoom calls like this, or once this whole Zoom stuff is done, we go back to things face to face. I'd love to have like some sort of like potluck, right? Because we have a whole lot of different cultures, different faiths, and we all have our own foods, and then we can also, and then at that meet and greet, I'd say, have some songs from different cultures as well. And it is through food and through song, I think, I'd say it's a concrete way to just to point the fact that we are all brothers and sisters.
I agree, and there were also previously events organized like that. For example, there was a day for religious symbols of the world religions. So people from different religions came together and discussed about their own religious symbols. And there was also a visit to mosque, church, and a synagogue. I think that bringing people together on the same table is one of the biggest things that we can do to start the conversation. And next question is, I think this is a comment. It says, I only viewed the infographics of the Fratelli Tutti, but I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading it. It definitely had the spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood for humankind. Thank you, Wafa, for that comment. I also agree with you. And next question that I want to ask is, how can social friendship and fraternity help us make progress in social justice?
Definitely, that's a great question. I think social friendship and fraternity has so many implications for a better society, because essentially it's a society that cares for each other, a society where everyone is each other's neighbor, no matter, if you live the street down, if you're like actual neighbors beside each other, everyone is each other's brother and sister. I think it really calls for a lot of communal love and solidarity. So it would take a lot of forms for a better and just society. I know the Pope talks in the letter a lot about different systems of the world, and also I really liked his point about cultural colonization, and he talks about throwaway culture as well, which aligns with my environmental interests, in which we have become so accustomed to this culture of wastefulness. And even in my religion, Islam, there's one verse of the Quran where it said that people who waste are the brethren of Satan. And nowhere else in the Quran does God, it's considered the word of God. Nowhere else does God say that humans can be the brethren of Satan, except in this one verse where he's talking about wastefulness, which kind of hammers home that point of how unjust and how detrimental it can be to a society. So I think by adopting these approaches of social friendship and fraternity, we're really able to lay the foundation for creating a better society in a lot of different facets of life.
Thank you, Dania. I also agree. Our next question is, hello all. Do you have any other work that you plan to announce these and such events that bring together young speakers from different faith groups to wider audiences? Do you want me to repeat it?
Yeah, so I guess essentially the question is asking if there are any future events like this as well. So yeah, I guess that would be coordinated by the sponsors of this meeting, but there's always interfaith events going on, and I do think there will be a lot more. And so yeah, I would think that it would the word would get around and the promotion would speak for itself. So yeah, I think it will continue for sure.
Thank you. And returning back to the question about social justice, I want to tell about my own experience. I took a class where we had to watch a documentary and witness that an indigenous person was harassed just because she was drumming on the death of her mother's death anniversary. And people came and called the police, told her to stop, even though she was like far away from people. Just her existence over there like bothered people. And she was also not allowed to do smudging just because they thought it would be something dangerous. And then we had a discussion forum where we could comment over there about our thoughts on this documentary. And I realized that when I have to pray outside in a park, I just go far away from people and just pray. But I don't, even though I don't like harm anyone or like stand in the way that where people cross, I also like get mocked, and sometimes racist comments are thrown at me. And I shared about my experience about that. And another friend of mine from the class, she said that she's a Buddhist, and whenever she tries to perform her Buddhist ceremonies and all, she also experiences the same thing, and she now doesn't have the courage to perform it in public. So I think that coming together and talking about our problems collectively makes us realize that even though we are different, we are so similar in so many ways. And I thought that only Muslims are being mocked for this, like performing rituals outside, but then I saw many people praying outside and coming through similar things. So I think this is one way that it would help. And we have other comments. I'm just going to read them right now. It's a quote by Fethullah Gulen from the Criteria or Lights of the Way. And it says, "Be so tolerant that your bosom becomes white like the ocean. Become inspired with faith and love of human beings. Let there be no trouble." Sorry, I just lost it. "Let there be no troubled souls to whom you do not offer a hand and about whom you remain unconcerned." I also know this quote and I really love it. It's a quote by Fethullah Gulen once again, and he tells us to love people so much that there is no hand that is not offered with help. And Michelle has requested us to subscribe to Interfaith Connections. Thank you, Michelle. And I think we can now move on to the musical renditions. Are you ready, Mariam and Azra? Are you here? Perfect. So Mariam Chalishkan will be performing piano, and the floor is yours.
Okay, 1 second. Thank you.
It was beautiful. Thank you, Mariam.
Was the audio like all right? Was it like echoing? Or?
Yes, it was perfect.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you
you.
very much. And now it's Azra's turn, and Azra Ergün is going to play guitar for us. Thank you, Azra. That was amazing. Now it's time for our Kahoot game. We will be having 10 questions on the topic of social friendship and fraternity and Fratelli Tutti. And Dania, could you please share them?
Yeah, so first I'm just going to share a bit of instructions for anyone who's not familiar with Kahoot. So basically it's a game where you can have your laptop screens kind of split. You're gonna have to log on to kahoot.it, and then when I display the game pin, you'll be able to enter that and join the game. You can either use your mobile phone to enter, or you can use another window on your laptop, but then you will have to make sure you can see my screen on the Zoom call so that you know what the questions are. So you just enter the quiz pin to join, enter your name, and answer the questions we will show on this screen on your device. So you will answer them on your own device, but the questions will be shared here. So I will just, okay, we'll start. All right, now you can log on to kahoot.it and use the pin 488H237. We'll start when we get a moderate amount of people here. And then I just put the link and the code in the chat. And the one thing about Kahoot is also that, so we're gonna have 10 questions, and you get points for how fast you enter the answer in and the correctness of the answer. It's a pretty easy quiz. Okay, we'll wait 20-ish more seconds, and then we'll start. And once I start the game, you can also continue to join. All right, we will start, but feel free to join as we go on. I see we had someone else join. So question number 1, who wrote Fratelli Tutti? So we started off with an easy one. And make sure you answer the questions fast, because that is how you will get your points. Okay, yeah, so the answer was Pope Francis, His Holiness Pope Francis. And we have Lydia in the lead with Father Prakash, which is not fair because he's a father, so he would know that. Question number 2, which of the following is not an example of social friendship and fraternity? So this one is asking what is not an example. All right, we have 10 seconds left. 2 people still have to submit their answers. 1 person, 5, 4, 3, 2. Awesome. Okay, so it seems like most of us got it. Yeah, so disconnected from our elderly family members. That is something the Pope also talked about in Fratelli Tutti, that we need to care for them during COVID. Next is a true or false question. True or false, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all have teachings on social friendship. Okay, and it looks like we have 8 answers in. 5. And that is true. Yes, everyone got that right. Awesome. Oh, and we see Lydia is still in the lead, but Bill and Anne have a answer streak, which means they're getting consistent ones right. Question number 4, what is an example of promoting social friendship during COVID-19 social distancing times? Oh, this one is a bit tricky. Okay, we have 10 seconds left, 2 answers. 2 people we're waiting on to answer. 1 person. All right. All of the above, yeah. That's why I said this one's kind of tricky, because you have to make sure you read all the options before you put in your answer. And Lydia is still in the lead. Question number 5. Social friendship and fraternity can be based upon which of the following values? And you can choose as many as possible.
I think it only allows us to choose
Oh, it only
one though.
Okay, so I made the setting for this question wrong, but it's okay. Yeah, so they were all correct answers, which is good. Okay, and we still have Lydia. And who was Fratelli Tutti written for? We kind of discussed this today as well. Seconds remaining, waiting on one answer. Yes, it was for all people who will accept it as an invitation to dialogue. And Lydia is still in the lead. Good job, Lydia. Okay, this one's multi-select. This is an opinion question. Has technology made it harder or easier to create meaningful social bonds? Okay, this one, I mean, if you agree with both, then you can select both answers. Okay, 3 seconds left. 3, 2, 1, and oh, so majority of us think it's been easier. That's interesting. Very interesting. And next, second last question, true or false, the vulnerable members of society are not included in the concept of social friendship and fraternity. Ten seconds left. Yes, that is false. The vulnerable members of society are included. Oh, and you see Lydia's on an answer streak. Okay. This one is also multi-select. How does social friendship better society? Which is a question Busra asked as well, which is awesome. This one you can also select as many as possible. All right. Yeah, we have these ones. That's the correct answer. And last question we have, which you can also select as many as you would like. Tonight's event was, this one's an easy one. Feel free to be completely honest with this one so that we know. 10 seconds left. 5 seconds left. Awesome. Okay. Interesting is the one that got the most votes. That's great. All right, and now we are going to see the results. In third place, we have Bill and Anne. Congratulations. And then second place, we have VP. And first place, we have, I think we know who this is, Lydia.
That's
Lydia.
me.
Oh, Buster, Lydia. Awesome. And our runners-up were Father Prakash and Kate. And that is all we have for our Kahoot. But congratulations to the winners. Buster, I did not know you were playing.
And VP's, I guess, Vincent.
Oh, Vincent, you were VP. I did not put that in. Awesome. All right. Thank you.
I feel happy to be first where Vincent and Father Prakash is here.
Yeah.
Now I will be sharing something. Can you all see this? So the Office for Interreligious Dialogue is collaborating with the University of St. Michael's College and have started Diploma in Interfaith Dialogue program. If anyone is interested, please contact the University of St. Maklair or the Office for Interreligious Dialogue. And if any of the participants are interested to join this group, please contact the Office for Interreligious Dialogue. And I will show the flyer in full form. So it goes like this. Explore cultural and religious diversity in Faculty of Theologies and Diploma in Interfaith Dialogue. Here we can see that it consists of 10 courses and $100 per course and 12 hours. It also is offered in weeknights and Saturdays. I wanted to share that with all of you. And I think that interreligious dialogues are very interesting, just like most of us agree today. So we have, you all get a prize, an Easter egg. Eugene has said that. Thank you, Eugene. So we have come to the end of this event, and it was my pleasure to be here today. I have learned a lot. I have also, I think, formed new connections. I will be keeping in touch with Vincent and Dania and many people that have participated today. Thank you everyone for joining us today and making this event possible. Thank you very much, Daniel. Father Prakash, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Do you want to speak about any future programs?
We will, I think, continue doing Zoom calls like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure about the date or the topics, but for getting more information, you can always visit the website for both of the organizations.
Okay, thanks.
Everybody.
Shall I end the call or would you do that?
Maybe, I don't know, Dania, you want to say a little word about the Awakening Project?
Oh yeah, awesome. So yeah, I work with the Awakening Project. It is a group of students, high school and university, working on a project that has an interfaith focus and a focus for social justice issues. If anyone is interested in participating, I will put the link to our website in the chat, and I will also put my email so that you can follow up and get a bit more information. But yeah, basically what we do is we engage with prophetic voices and we make presentations and host Zoom call discussions, and it's very self-directed. So whatever you would like to investigate your interest in interfaith dialogue or social justice issues, we will help support you in furthering that interest. So yeah, I will put my email in the chat. We are also currently recruiting high school and university students. So if you're interested, you can join on a volunteer basis or a part-time basis, and we'll figure out a role for you. But yeah, we're currently in the middle of recruitment and would be happy to have anyone else join. have a great night, everyone.
Thank you, Dania. Maybe I don't know if anybody wants to. There we have two people who have done the almost finishing the diploma interfaith dialogue. Daniel and Kathy. Do you want to say a word, Kathy or Daniel? Just how your experience was.
It's been wonderful, absolutely wonderful. The courses are great. I can't, and it works really well online. I highly encourage people to participate. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. And if anybody is not wants to join and is having problem financially, let us know. We will try to get you sponsors to do it. Okay. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Busra. Thank you, Dania, Vincent, and everybody else who spend time with us, and also the musicians, Azra and Miriam. Thank you for your beautiful music, and thank you to Idea and to the Young People's Catholic Jewish Muslim group. So hope to see you next time. And meanwhile, we can keep talking and discussing what we would like to do next. Okay, good night. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.